wonder if it needs an update. If I force an update. Oh, it says updated recently, YouTube. So they've taken it off as an option.
Oh.
That's a problem, isn't it? Open. Yeah, you can't change it to fan funding, Joe.
Oh.
That's annoying. We're going to have to be on it with gifteds and super chats now, otherwise we're just going to lose them.
Thank you, Sir Gallagher Grounder, for 1. Thank you for Stick Monkey for 5 gifted memberships. There we don't go. I hope Stick Monkey.
So as long as we get the hope, we're fine.
Yeah, that the next Chinese meal that you order comes with free banana fritters.
Strong.
I had some last night.
Banana fritters?
With a succulent Chinese meal.
From Chinese?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of those, like, I finished work about 5:30, 5:45. And then I was like, oh. And I looked on the thing. I had to cook, like, roast pork and, like, roast vegetables. And I was like, no.
I'll be with you in a second, chat. YouTube's changed something on our app,
Yeah.
which is not good.
Someone said, where's my poppy? Basically, I have to wait for a little old man to come to my house and try and sell me one.
You could just get it from, like, a supermarket.
I know, but I like every year, this guy comes along in his Royal British Legion. He comes out in his suit with his little thing and his bucket.
So basically, team, YouTube as an app allows you, or had allowed us in the past, to filter our. You can now upload directly from Studio. But I don't want to upload. I want to look at my live chat. So it allowed us to filter the live chat, right? And we can filter it from top chat to live chat to fan funded on the app on our iPads. And what Joe would do is he would have his sat on fan funded,
Yeah.
so that when your super chats and your gifts and stuff like that come through, we don't ever miss them and it doesn't just
We don't see you as people. We just see you as little stacks of money.
Yeah, so that was why we did that, and they've removed that option for some reason from the app, so we can't change it to live chat, we can't change it to fan funded, it stays on top chat. I don't even like top chat because I like to see everyone's messages, and it's annoying me. So I'm trying to see if there's another way I can find it, because I feel like this is a mistake of an update. Can I do it from here? Plus.
Thank you, Super Ready, for 5 gifted memberships.
Thank you, Seeps, you legend.
I hope the little old man that brings the poppies has like the full selection. Like, because sometimes they have the box of the little paper ones. I hope he comes with like the plastic ones and the big plastic one that comes like that you put to the front of your car, you know, and like a clothes. He comes along with like a big trolley.
I can't work it out. I think it's gone. I think I've got rid of it for some reason. I don't know why. I can't change mine to top chat. I can't do anything.
Yeah. I'm going to move this because you can end up fucking everywhere. Thank you, Cornet Ed, for 5 gifted memberships.
Why is it? Why is it rocking so much? It must be on something. There you go, it's better. Thank you, Ed, you legend. Thank you, people, for the 16, 20, 19, how many does that say? 10? 10, which is plus 16 gifted memberships, you heroes.
That's correct, Stick Monkey.
Yeah, Joe only gives to charity if a pension has to walk miles.
Yeah, I hope, Cornet Ed, that next time you go to the shops and there's a dog outside, I hope it's super friendly and gives you lots of kisses.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. I will be wearing a poppy right from now because it's the season. However, I have my little poppy badge with my army badge on it. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
There you go. I have a poppy here. I have poppies all over me. I don't want any. I have no issues with people that only wear poppies for the Remembrance Week. I don't, as a vet, personally have any problem with that whatsoever. So don't be pressured into wearing a poppy for the whole of November. I do. I don't expect everybody else to. So I don't want you to feel bad about it. I don't know if you did anyway, but I don't want you to feel, because you asked me before the stream, am I supposed to be wearing a poppy? No, absolutely not. You don't have to. You don't actually, I'll be honest with you, you don't even have to wear it for the week of Remembrance, Jay.
I very rarely, I buy them, I never wear them.
Yeah.
Like, I tend to buy them if I see them about. But, like, the problem is, like, I'm a slob. I live a slob life.
No.
You know, I have the dexterity of a horse with like 12 legs. Right? I break them all the time. Like inevitably, I'll go like I have a poppy there, and after a while, it's just a stem. You know, because I've torn it. So after all, I just don't care anymore.
This is why I have little metal pin badges.
Yeah.
And I also, I donate monthly to the Royal British Legion as a direct debit. And so every year I get a new pin badge. And that's what I don't want to buy the paper one, so I just buy the pin badge.
Yeah.
And then it's a forever poppy at that point. So I've got a bunch of pin badges at home, right? So if you're ever worried about break one, buy a single metal one and then just chuck money in the pot every year.
Also, why doesn't like I'm surprised we haven't got to a day and age where charities don't have tappy card readers.
You do. Some of them do.
Do they?
Yeah,
I've never seen one because like I never carry change on me ever. You know, what they need is like a little like boop done.
Oh yeah, I was unaware. Of course, for some people they won't know. The wearing of a poppy is a Memorial Day type tradition. So the wearing of the poppy comes from. So obviously November is Remembrance over in the UK. I think it is not just in the UK, obviously, but it's about Remembrance Day, and we wear poppy as a sign of remembrance, essentially. So if you're unaware why poppies are a big deal in the UK, and you see them wearing them in November, it's to do with remembrance, right? Typically, we will do a stream on Remembrance Sunday, which this year is Sunday the 10th. We used to do a stream in the morning whereby when we hit the right time in the morning, we would do a 2-minute silence over the stream. We would do Last Post and Reveille as a 2-minute silence over the stream. Heads up, we're not going to do that this year, only because my niece and nephew are in my local Remembrance Parade. Yeah. So I shall be down in parade in my suit, wearing medals, wearing my veterans badge, with my niece and nephew, and I'll watch them do the parade. What we will do is we will do a bonus Remembrance stream on the Sunday evening.
Yeah.
So we'll have a bonus get-together piss-up on the Sunday evening for Remembrance, because every year we have got together on the channel and people have shared stories about their time in the forces, experiences they've had with people in the forces, absent friends, etc. I think it's become a real nice thing that we do. Sometimes I've seen people share the same stories 2 to 3 years in a row. And I think it's lovely. And I want to encourage that. So we will do it. We're going to do it on the Sunday evening so that I do get to go see my niece and nephew in the Remembrance Parade. Also does mean that typically for those of you in the US, it's more accessible for people on, say, for example, the West Coast, because you'll be awake, right? What's happened to Models for Heroes? Still going. Models for Heroes still going strong. ! M4H. And I've just had an invite to their HQ, an open invite to their HQ at some point. I need to respond to the guy who runs Models for Heroes and say, yes, I'd love to come, and just get a date booked in.
Are they based out of...
They're localish.
It's that out towards Ringwood direction, isn't it?
They're like, I think they're like an hour away or something.
Just outside. Yeah, I know. I've been to their head. I've been to the Alpha Heroes.
They've moved head office recently. This year. So did I actually finish? I didn't. It says draft. Open invite to visit us in Newbury.
Oh, it's moved up because it was the other way. Down towards
Can you remind me when the stream finishes to finish messaging him back that I started on Tuesday,
I suppose,
when I was mess doing. Right, so, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining us on this fine Tuesday afternoon. It's actually, for the first time, I think this year, definitely the first time this year, I had to put the heating on in the studio. I came in here and I was worried they'd left the aircon on Tuesday because it was fucking freezing. So I turned the heating on. But it's a nice enough day.
Yeah, it's all right actually.
Yeah.
It's nice.
If you haven't already, please make sure you hit all those magical YouTube buttons. Smash the like button if you enjoy the content. Subscribe if you haven't already. And then you can hit your bell end if you want to be notified when we go live or drop a new video. Or you can become a member. And if you're lucky enough, you can either be a member by paying for it yourself, or you can get gifted one by one of our amazing channel gifters. We're at like 16 already. Thank you so much, you wonderful people. Fun fact, I'm excited, Joe.
Esco, it's Thursday today, not Tuesday.
Sorry, it is Thursday. I've lost some time this week. I'm excited though, Joe, right now. I shared this with the Thanes earlier. I'm going to share it with a wider group. This month, we're ending this month today, obviously, because it's how dates work. This month is quite exciting. I've worked out that we've not done cancelled stroke, not streamed 7 times this month, which sounds bad, right? And some of that was through sickness. Most of that was through events. Some of that was through time off.
Some channels only do 7 a month.
I know. So some of that was through time off. It equates essentially, 7 streams for me equates to me having a week off, because 7 streams is what we do in a week's time. So this month officially, I've essentially had a week off. Granted, one of those streams was because of food poisoning, but that aside, the rest of it's a week off, right? If we hit good membership totals on both streams today, we probably hit record month whilst having a week off. And that's because of all of you amazing people. So I'm excited, don't want to count chickens because we just started the day, but thank you so far. And for anything you gift today, we may be in for a record month. We've also had a bit of a record spend with the Spearhead weekend.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be super well off, and the record's not going to be broken by a lot.
But the thing is, though, like any TO will know, you spend out on the first couple of events, and then
of
then they
course
start to make money normally afterwards.
So we won't be super well off if we hit record, but the fact that we might even hit record in a month where we had a week off is unbelievably humbling. Thank you so much. Right? You're legends. Thank you, Roland Bain, as well, for the $20, who says, where is it? Do you do anything with veterans? Oh, my little cog's just come back. Is yours back?
Oh, it has. What is that then?
What the fuck's that all about? Do we do anything with veterans? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean by do I do anything with veterans?
Touch them, molest them, toss them off.
Well, I don't think I do anything specific. I don't do anything specifically with veterans.
I mean, like we have like veterans in our community and active service members in our community in both. Like, we have like American service members and
veterans
Canadian
will get additional discount or something at Hobby House as well.
Yeah, so now we do a lot with them anyway, and obviously we support Malls for Heroes and
yeah.
yeah.
Just let Joe and Brom play OS more and see Brom cheat brings in the moolah. I heard a thing. I heard you didn't play Dwarfs on Tuesday, Jay.
No. Because the week I was going to play them, you cancelled it, so that kind of.
But then you were playing Dwarfs against Brom learning a new army on Tuesday. Then he ended up playing Dwarfs.
Well, he learned a new army regardless. So I'll play him next week. I'll play him on Tuesday. I'm not here on Tuesday. Play him next week.
Anyway,
I ordered the White Dwarf.
This is why I can't go away. You see, because then here's your instructions, and Joe's like, "I'm in charge now. Anarchy." Right. Today is it's a more chilled out Liam and Joe show. Again, there's not tons of news out there.
No news is good news in the eyes of Games Workshop.
There's not tons of news out there. There's some bits and pieces and some smatterings, and they've been talking. There's been some articles about this their narrative thing that they're building, which is cool and exciting. And I was wondering, right, so we have had an experience over the course of the last few months, specifically with this man over here, who, in terms of Warhammer 40k, hasn't won a game since the Hellstorm event.
No. No, I haven't.
Now, we've had, obviously, in terms of the channel and the team, we've had a lot of banter that has occurred between us about some of the reasons as to why. And Joe is always thrown back at us, and often justifiably, that he takes lots of fun narrative lists or casual lists and then gets his back door smashed in by people who are trying a bit harder or taking a slightly tougher list. And it got me thinking. We had a lot of focus on competitive 40k with things like Meta Watch.
Yeah.
We talk about tournaments quite a lot and what's doing well and what's doing badly. That typically comes from Meta Watch. And I was wondering if we think that 10th edition 40k does or doesn't make a good casual game. Now, there's a caveat here, right? Because if it's a casual game between Joe and I, and both of us do in fact put together casual lists, then of course it kind of works.
Yeah.
But I think we often look at this in the context of random pickup games against an opponent who you don't know.
Yeah.
Does 10th edition work casually? And I'll expand that out because a lot of people go, no, 10th edition doesn't work casually. I've sort of seen it in the comments already. But then I would go, well, did the other editions work casually? And I have a theory behind it, but I want to hear what Joe says first.
I currently don't think that 10th edition is a casual game because of how the mission setup is, specifically, doesn't play to a casual style. And I think the edition that's supposed to be less rerolls, less killy, has more rerolls, more killy.
Yeah.
Because the balance between all shooting and all combat armies is skewed in such a way that if there's not enough terrain on the table, the shooting army will win. If there's too much terrain on the table, the combat army will win.
Yeah.
And if there's a medium amount of terrain on the table, 9 times out of 10, the shooting army will win.
Okay.
Because shooting is so much more efficient than combat now, I think. And then the problem is that the mission layouts don't, the new mission style doesn't play towards the strengths of a combat army.
I mean, I think it can do. But the problem is for it to work, you also have to have a ton of units that are essentially designed to play those secondaries.
But not every army has access to those units.
No. So granted, they don't. Granted, every army doesn't have access to those units. But it does. I think the game currently does encourage players in general to. So my brother is playing a game tomorrow night, right? Against a friend of his. It's a casual. It's literally a casual game. It's so casual that his opponent is Tyranids allied with Tau, right? Because they're doing what the fuck they want, because that's the game they're playing. Because his mate hasn't got 2,000 points of either. He's got like 1,200 points of one, 800 points of the other. Put them together, I've got a 2,000 point army.
Yeah.
And my brother's taking Space Marines, and he sent me a list, right? Do you know how fucking refreshing it is?
Really?
Like, legitimately how refreshing the list is.
Right.
Because it's like, I've got a Terminator Captain, a Terminator Librarian, and 2 squads of 5 Terminators. I've got 5 Scouts and a Razorback. When would you ever see that at an event?
Yeah.
5 Scouts and a Razorback.
Never.
You wouldn't see it.
No. The only other unit that can take Razorbacks, weirdly, is Devastator Marines, and that's it.
It was just, I looked for the list and I was like, he's just taking shit he likes. It's fucking great. And because he's playing an opponent who is probably doing the same thing, he doesn't give a fuck about secondaries. He doesn't care about any of the ones where you have to go in an area and do an action. He doesn't care about that shit.
No.
I was like, this is amazing. So I actually think it can work casually because him and his opponent have clearly got a very similar attitude to how they're going to play the game. They don't even know the game very well.
I think the game works casually if you're new to the game.
The game works casually until one person decides he wants to ramp it up a bit.
Yeah.
And then it can swing really fucking hard.
Well, I think once you start to understand the game, it stops being casual.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the second, so him and his mate, it was joyous. Say one of them goes, I really want to fucking win.
Yeah.
And he puts some time into learning and reading, and especially with access to what's online, YouTube channels like Art of War and VT, articles, that kind of thing. It wouldn't be that difficult to work out what's meta, what's good, what kind of combination, how it works, and why you want an apothecary biologist with fire discipline inside 6 eradicators in ultra. Do you know what I mean? Right? You'd find that out really, really quickly. I think if one of them did that, and this is what I find quite interesting. I think if one of them did that, the game then pivots really fucking hard to being wildly imbalanced because one of them's done it.
Yeah.
Whilst they're both attacking it with this I'm going to take what I want attitude and play for fun, it can work casually. But it only works as a casual game if both players are invested to it being a casual game.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if I think that's a good or a bad thing.
I think it would be we'd be better off in a situation if every army had access to the same things in terms of the units that do the same things. Right. So if you look at Weldiers, for instance, you've got your unit choices are 8-bound Berserkers,
Jackals.
Yep. Right. You do also get access to things like Terminators, Hell Brutes, and
Spawn.
Spawn.
Your favourite
shit
world
like
is Spawn.
Yeah. But your only deep striking unit is Terminators.
Yep.
Right. And nothing in your army has the ability to leave the table and come back on. Whereas if you look at someone like Space Marines, they have scouts that can leave the table, come back on. They've got a whole plethora of deep striking units. Same for Eldar, Tau, Genestealer cults, stuff like that. They have small little units that can come onto the table, then leave the table, or can outflank for free, stuff like that. And then you look at armies like Guard, who have a lot of very cheap units that can deep strike, leave the table, come back on, deep strike within free.
We talk a lot about uppy downy, don't we?
Yeah, uppy downy is like the most impactful and powerful thing in the game.
If you're unaware what uppy downy is, chat, uppy downy is simplistically where a unit can leave the table and then come back on in the next turn, or sometimes at the end of the turn or whenever. It's where you take it off and you put it on somewhere else. So it goes up, it comes back down.
Yeah, and they tend to be cheap, small units.
Yeah.
And it's probably the most powerful mechanic in the game, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because of how the missions work. Be in a corner, do an action, be in all 4 corners of the table, cover multiple places, steal an objective of people. Having a unit that can leave the table, come back on, leave the table, come back on. Armies like Gene Stealer Cult, Drakari, Eldar, to an extent, Sisters, are ridiculously powerful because they have access to units that just do cheap units that don't interact with their opponent.
Small footprint units as well. There's a number of things. I think there's a number of things that make a unit like that perfect. It's quite cheap in points.
Yeah.
It has a small footprint, so you can fit it places when people try and screen out, and they can't fully screen out. You fit it places.
And they decided in 9th edition, going into 10th, that to prioritise holding secondaries and standing on a particular part of the table doing an action secondaries over killing.
So question then, 9th edition, better or worse casual game?
I thought it was better.
Why?
Casually. I don't know, I just thought, like, because there was more choice on secondaries, like in terms of what you could do. I thought that there was less models on the table, like
I'd agree
kind
with
of
that.
thing. Armies felt a bit more balanced towards the end, obviously.
Do you think there was the best casual edition so far in your time of playing? I've got thoughts on this, but I want to ask you first. I don't want to sway you.
I actually think 8th edition was the best casual
That's
edition.
exactly what I think.
Yeah.
Because of Maelstrom.
Because of Maelstrom, but also because there was a clean sweep and a massive change on rules, we came into an edition where no one knew how the game mechanics completely worked. Everyone was learning.
Yeah.
We were completely indexed at the time, and it was just the fucking Wild West.
It was, yeah.
Like it was just it's like
4 Storm Raisins and Gulliman.
4 Storm. I won a tournament with Be'lakor, and a bunch of random Nurgle demons, a knight, and 3 Mauler fiends.
I'm into
And
it.
Nurgle, it was like Nurglings and Plague Bearers, and it was just a completely mental list that I just kind of like threw together, and now it's very much a case of when you build your army list, it's like you have to analyze every single unit that goes in. There's no
Everything has to have a purpose.
You're trimming the fat constantly in your army.
Yeah, I remember. So I remember this is quite interesting. Okay, so I remember looking at things like 7th edition, 8th edition, some of 9th edition. 9th edition. So I think 9th edition was when 9th edition launched during COVID, and it was coming out of 9th edition when I started to stream and get involved with VT, and I was surrounded by people that loved the competitive game, which. I'm not saying if you like the competitive game, you're a good or bad person, but I was surrounded by people that love the competitive game. And when you surround yourself with a certain type of person, you typically will lean more into that kind of ethos because that's what they're all doing.
Yeah.
And I started then to heavily analyse lists and think about what every unit's purpose was, and this one's for secondaries, and this one's to kill this, and this one's to do this. And I think that arguably ruined it for me a little bit. Now, I think 10th edition 100% encourages everybody to try and do that with their list. What's the purpose of that unit? And if the answer to that is, it's fucking cool, a lot of people are like, so that's not a purpose then.
Yeah.
Where I think it is a purpose still. I remember back in 7th edition, I'd go to tournaments, actual full-blown tournaments, just with shit I liked.
Yeah.
And still never really walk to a table and think, I'm just going to get my pants pulled down.
Yeah.
It was never really at risk. And then in 8th edition specifically, I come to realise, I've said for the longest time that I think 7th edition was my favourite edition. Now, if we're talking about core rules, I would stand by that. I think 7th was my favourite. When we played Heresy last Thursday, I very much liked the concept of using blast templates and initiative and weapon skills. I really like that kind of mechanic in my tabletop war game. I think it makes it more of a war game, personally. Not saying that there's anything else is flat worse, it's just my preference. But I was chatting to my mate Lee yesterday, whose top table I was out on Tuesday, who is a Warhammer 40k player.
Yeah.
And he said that he thinks his favourite edition was probably 8th edition, simply because if you wanted to go to a tournament, you went to a tournament played ITC format, which was we've layered a set of rules over the standard of 8th edition core rulebook, and we've brought in things like secondaries, like old school, where Slay the Warlord, First Strike, and Linebreaker were secondaries that you could score and stuff like that. And then for the majority of the rest of us, you had Eternal War missions, of which there were 6, and then you had the Maelstrom of War missions. It's like, so Maelstrom and Eternal War were casual playing. Like Eternal War you could kind of use for narrative, Maelstrom was casual, and then ITC was ITC.
Yeah.
It's like nowadays, everybody just wants to play Pariah Nexus currently.
Well, it's also, if you think like in terms that you play, when you play against people you've never played against as a casual pickup game, it tends to be at a club. Not very often is there communication between the two players before you play. So everyone just leans into the, like, we're going to play Pariah Nexus. I'll bring a balanced to competitive level army.
Yeah.
Just don't want my opponents bring in. And then you just tend to play the same game that everyone else is, which is the tournament version of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bit mental.
I think there's a number of things that have led to a place where most people now feel like the game is less casual friendly. If you think about the mechanics of 7th edition, blast templates, armor facings, initiative, every single one of those rules, I would argue, a lot of those rules, I would argue, lean towards a more narrative-based experience. You have to think about the armor facing you're shooting into.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that your weapon arc is the correct arc.
Yeah.
You have a blast template or a flamer template, and you have to place it and see where that explosion hits and how many people get hit by the shrapnel. You have to think about how reactive your soldier is compared to the opponent, whether he's initiative 6 or initiative 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
That's all more narrative, which I think immediately helps casual. You then look at the missions currently versus 8th edition, which I think for me was peak missions.
Yeah.
And the missions went from Maelstrom, Eternal War, ITC not governed by Games Workshop, which I actually think was important.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that them bringing in a house is probably bad overall for the game. And then we've now come down to Pariah Nexus.
Yeah.
And people are going to be in the comments. I know people are going to be in the comments and go, Liam, you always forget about Crusade. I've continuously gone back and looked at Crusade because people keep whinging at me about Crusade. And I always look at it and think, it looks shit. I'm not interested. So go away, Crusade.
Yeah. What's interesting about the ITC scoring, which was run by Frontline at the time, is that your secondaries were not just picked on the primary mission, but also on your opponent's army.
Yes.
So there wasn't a bunch of redundant secondaries. So, and which I thought was really, really good, and I loved it, and it made me really sad when it went away, because now people build their army. They're like, I don't want too many characters because my opponent might pick assassination, and I don't want to have too many vehicles because my opponent might bring it down. And those are the only secondaries that affect your army. And then it's just like, how many cheap shit units can I put in my army?
I think the third prong to it as well is about army construction.
Yeah.
So the lack of, for one of the way I put it, just simply the lack of force organisation chart.
That bugs me. And also, if you think about 8th edition, when you built your army, like I said earlier, I had an Imperial Knight, I had a Chaos Knight, Demons, and Chaos Space Marines in an army. I went to a tournament at Warhammer World where I had an Imperial Knight, I had Celestine and a unit of Sisters, and then I had a Guard army. And I had Imperial Guard at the same time. And it was like a cool kind of Celestine leads a host of guards, and then obviously I picked up a nice Imperial Knight for it. But that was like everyone's army at the time. There was like a knight, but it got weird. Like everyone had the Castellan, everyone had 3 tank commanders and 3 smash captains from Blood Angels, because that was the most efficient way. And then you just kind of had it was like 30 guardsmen to fill in the gap. Why has that gone white?
Because YouTube's a twat.
Is it died? Is it still going?
It's still going. Yeah,
it's still going.
It's 100% still going.
So one of my one of the codexes it's kind of like I secretly really, really love in 10th edition that I want to see more of, right, is Imperial Agents. So because Imperial Agents is a standalone army, but also it's designed with allying specifically in other armies. So it goes, you can have, depending on the size of the game, you can have up to 2,000 points. There's 2 characters, and 2 retinue units and a dedicated transport, or not dedicated, or like a non. So everyone goes like an Inquisitor, an Assassin, and a unit of Death Watch, and you can make really, really narrative kind of army builds with that, which I really like. But no other armies really have that kind of built in.
I had some good experience with Crusade. The thing is, Wee Man, right? Love you, by the way. The thing is I think Crusade is hardcore narrative.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it was Chris put something in as well, who said that Crusade has a risk if players don't control themselves of snowballing when someone starts winning.
Yeah.
And it does. I've looked at the rules. I don't like Crusade. So we're talking about casual. I get this out. I think there's a common misconception. I think, my personal opinion is, that people often categorise the way you play Warhammer 40k or the way you like to game to competitive narrative.
Yeah.
And I don't think that is the spectrum. I think the spectrum goes from competitive or hardcore competitive through competitive, and narrative is on this side. And in the middle, I feel like you have casual gaming. And I feel like this is typically the more beer hammer, garage hammer, and, as you've probably heard before, the kind of stuff that we're trying to promote on the channel as much as we possibly can. Casual hammer, not narrative Warhammer, not competitive Warhammer. Casual Warhammer is my favourite type. And I feel like I'm going to be controversial here because I saw a lot of the comments. 10th, I think, can be a very casual game to play. I absolutely firmly believe that once you learn your specific army, if you're running an army, and you remember a lot of the rules to memory for the specific units, which is quite important, which in itself is a challenge, I know. I think you can absolutely play Beer Hammer and enjoy 10th edition.
I actually think the best way to casually play 10th edition is at a lower points bracket.
Interesting, because I often feel like at a lower points bracket it becomes more swingy.
So, like, if you go 1,000 points, I'd say anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500, because then you're not going to be invested in massive Death Star kind of units. So no one's going to turn up and be like, oh, at 1,500 points, I bought 15 Deathwing Knights and the Lion. Yeah,
because you can't.
Because you can't. Well, you can actually.
You can at 1,500, yeah, but
at 1,500 you could.
It's literally pretty much your army.
But that's your army kind of thing. So people tend to sway between. I can have a couple units and stuff. Like my opponent's not going to turn up with a completely ridiculous army. So you tend, like at lower points, you tend towards the more balance. Once you're allowed that extra 500 points to play with at 2,000, like that's where it gets. That's where your filler units kind of start to come in. Your little uppy downy units.
Your what's the redundancy?
Yeah.
Charlie says, but in that case, you can casually play any game. Again, controversially, chat, I'm interested in what you think. Yeah, I agree. I think you can casually play any game. You can sit at the table and casually play Magic the Gathering against an opponent.
Yeah.
You can also bring a deck that will just straight fuck your opponent in no time at all. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hold my hand up. Do I think that Warhammer 10th edition naturally lends itself to being a casual game? No. Do I think you can play it casually? I think you can.
500 to 7. So I'd say 500 points is probably a bit too. I think 750 would be a really good sweet spot for casual, but I think you'd have to start implementing specific rules. So one of the best things about 6th and 7th edition was the invention of 40k and 40 minutes. 40k and 40 minutes tended to be 400 to 500 points. And nothing could have more than 3 wounds, no 2-up armor saves. Obviously, there's armor, so no armor facings higher than
12?
30.
Oh, total armor.
Total, because your front armor was like anywhere between 10 and 12, or sometimes 14. And then side armor was like 10 to 12, and then rear armor tended to be around 10. So you'd add up the 3 facings, and then that was it. So you could never have anything higher than a Razorback or a Rhino or a Chimera. And then basically, by getting rid of no 2-up armor saves, no loads of wounds, no reducing armor faces, meant that you had a more combat patrol kind of army force. Combat patrol before combat patrol kind of thing.
Charlie knows where I'm going with it, by the way. He's one step ahead of me at the moment. So then in that case, playing casually is not about the game, but about the opponent.
Yeah.
I agree, genuinely. I think that a large amount of the complaints that come out from people in 10th edition not being a very good casual game will typically come from, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of this has come from my interactions with my brother recently. A lot of it has come from people that watch the streams and expect everyone to be playing at a higher level, or watch Art of War, or watch VT, or whatever. People have stumbled across the road. I think it makes a bad pickup game casually, because you might walk to your friend or local gaming store for a pickup game, and you might play a person who has the same attitude as us and the same attitude as you guys, and you might have a great experience. You also can turn up against that guy who's just pulled a net list off of dakadaka.com.
Yeah.
He watched win the LGT, and he's gonna be that opponent.
Yeah,
that happens.
I think if you do play the lower points as well, and you're playing against like random opponents, just saying to you, like, do you want to do Highlander? Because it's easier to do Highlander at lower points. Like, your opponent's only going to turn up with like 1 unit of Banshees, 1 unit of Dark Reapers, 1 unit of this.
We should start. We need to do some significant. We were talking this morning at the plan for our 40k armies that Joe's working on the channel. I'm quite excited about what we're doing and what we're planning to do in the future. And then in a few months' time, playing things like Highlander type style could be quite interesting and fun, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're at that point in the show now. We've given you our opinions. We've talked about what we think. We're now going to dive into chat. We're just over, I think we're 51 or 56 members so far. So thank you so much for the gifteds. If we can hit a minimum 100 members on both streams today, I think at that point we hit record ever revenue for the channel in this month. And I'm excited about maybe achieving that. I'm just trying not to mention it too much because I'll get too hyper-focused on it. But at this point in the show, what we're now going to do is we're going to jump into the comments. Joe's got fan funding in front of him, which means any super chat membership or gifted membership that comes through on the stream, Joe will have that in front of him right now. We're going to go through it point by point, and we'll answer all your super chats. So if you've got any thoughts, opinions about what we've just talked about for the last 25 minutes, please stick them on a big colourful postcard and throw it at us. We'll discuss it. And thank you for all you wonderful people that support us. You're all amazing. Yeah. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Demagogue. It says, please buy Joe something other than Aldi duck wraps for lunch today. We're going out for...
I'm taking Joe and Pat. Well, Luce booked a meal in Southampton to celebrate Halloween.
Yeah.
For me, Joe, Paddy, Luce, and the kids.
I thought that was a bold choice.
I don't feel
considering your feelings on Halloween.
I don't. So one, they're not going to be at home when school kicks out and kids start trick or treating.
Yeah.
So there's a part of the reason why she's not going to be there because she fucking hates trick or treating.
Yeah.
And two, it's an excuse to have a team meal.
That's true.
So. Yeah. We're going to.
I'm not complaining.
We're going to a place in Southampton called Cosmos, which is single payment, which is one of the best things for me for a business expense. Single payment, all you can eat buffet, hour and a half go. So Joe is going to get more than a duck wrap. Joe's going to get whatever the fuck he wants.
I could make a duck wrap, I imagine.
There is duck there.
A whole duck in a pizza.
There is aromatic duck there, 100%. So there you go. So Joe's going to get treated to some fancy food tonight. It's this evening.
Thank you, man, with an account called Erebus. For 5 gifted memberships. I hope you never run over an animal ever again.
Is that really for him, or is that for the...
Just in general.
For the animal?
For both.
Thank you, Erebus. Love you.
I remember when I lived in the West, on Exmoor, at the pub, people would just turn up to the pub with just like feathers just stuck in their grill. Or just whole animals sometimes.
Yeah?
Yeah. That was weird. Thank you, Predators. Succulent Chinese meal for 5 gifted memberships. I hope that next time you get a call from one of those call centres, you have the courage to be an absolute wanker down the phone to them. You know? I'm like, hello, and they're like, do you want to buy double glazing? I'm like, no.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. And I'm like, sorry, like I'm in a rented accommodation, you know. They're like, well, can we have your landlord's number? I'm like, no. So I'm sure you probably have it anyway in your list of all of them.
Not just for your giving out a random number.
Yeah.
Like do what I do. Every single time that someone cold calls you, and you say you speak to my boss, you speak to my manager, you speak to my partner, and when they say, can I have their number, just give them Eddie's number.
That's a good idea, actually.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, the best one I saw is my mate Matt. He got a phone call And it was all like, oh, like we want to phone you about your recent accident, and he was like, oh, that's really good. Like it's like I was in a car accident recently, and they're like, oh, good. Like we can help you. He said, yeah. The only problem was I was drunk at the time.
Yeah.
And then like, boo.
I've had that. We want to help you with a recent accident. It's like you can try, but he's 7 years old now.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't find a big enough bag, you know. Thank you, John McArdle, for 20 gifted memberships.
Thank you, Warhammer Jesus.
Thank you, Warhammer Jesus. I hope next time you fly on a plane, you get upgraded to like the tippy top best version.
Pilot. It'll already be in first class, surely.
Yeah, like the top, not quite an air hostess, like whatever's below that, because you don't want it's not work, is it? You don't want to go and have to work on the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe air hostess like tugs you off, helps you go to sleep.
Yeah.
If it's a long flight.
Good old Warhammer Jesus. Thank you, John.
Thank you. He hates that name.
He fucking despises
He
it.
hates it with a passion. I can't call it to him because I upset him enough times, you know.
It's my favourite thing though when I know. So the old rules when you're in the army. I don't know if I ever told you this, Jay, but I was in the army. When you're in the army, what's going on here then? What the fuck? When you're in the army, you almost always, without fail, get a nickname. Okay,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a nickname. It's a fact. And if someone gives you a nickname that you absolutely hate, the worst thing you can do is be like, "Oh, don't call me that. I fucking hate it." It's the worst thing you can do because the second you do that, they're like, "That's his nickname." So we had one lad turn up whose name I won't mention, but he was from Scotland and his skin was a lighter shade of pale blue, and he had like this thin blonde hair, like he'd never seen sunshine, and he was a skinny little fella with a weird little pot belly, right? And so he turned up, and his nickname, I shouldn't say this will demonetise us, his nickname was Stillborn. And he fucking hated it, and it stuck hard because he hated it.
That's harsh. It's great, but it's harsh, you know.
It was disgusting.
Jesus.
But military, innit? Hey.
I love the British Army.
Yeah.
Like some of this, like I learn like new slang words from Paddy all the time.
Well, yeah.
My favourite
can you say it? There's a couple we can't say, Joe.
Is like obviously like the food is now being called scran.
Scran, yeah.
So it's like I'm gonna go to
or scoff. Yeah,
scoff. Like gonna go to Scrantanamo Bay.
Yeah.
Scran Diego.
Scran Diego is my favourite.
Yeah, that's my favourite. I say Scran Diego more than I probably should all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scran Diego is one of my favourite ones.
Yeah. But when I used to call people Nick, like when I learned that someone doesn't like something, I do it all the time. Kyle doesn't like being interrupted, so I do it all the time. It enrages him and it gives me strength. Yeah, you know? Yeah, he hates it when people.
We were talking about this at the weekend though, because Brom rocked up with 2 bile predators, Joe, didn't he, for you? And what has he done to each one?
No, he didn't rock. He didn't. I know he didn't give me the bile predators. No, I built my 2 bile predators, and he just drilled holes in them.
I thought he'd bought them for you, so he just drilled random holes in the ones you just built.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, and I warned I said to the people, they're like, Brom just turned up and went, he'll hate this, and drilled 2 random holes badly in your bile predators.
Yeah.
And I was like, he will hate that, and the studio is full of it, because life's like a lot of people call it quite like frat housey behaviour, I guess, bro-y behaviour. I'm like, nah, fuck it, life's too short. I don't get offended or anything. I like little wind-up things like that. I'm a fan of that kind of stuff.
So when you find someone with big ears and you call them wingnut.
We had a guy called Wingnut, yeah.
We had a kid at school called
And
Wingnut.
he looked like a wingnut, yeah. I was called Calf Head.
Calf head?
Yeah, so I've got an abnormally large head.
I thought it would be called beaker.
So when they measured my head for my beret and my headdress, my head's a 60-something centimetre, 61 centimetre head or something like that, right? Yeah. Which is big, by the way. It's abnormally big. But I turned up to my unit and I walked into my line office, and a guy called Bob McCain, who was an artisan staff sergeant, was like, the first thing he said, walking into my fucking brand new unit, I'm like 19 years old, he's like, fucking hell, you've got a big head. Brilliant, thanks. And so he said, we need a nickname for you. We can't call you Cowhead, though. I was like, right. And then another guy came around the corner, a guy called Craig, who had a head that's like mine. He went, well, he's already Cowhead. And he was a sergeant at the time, and I was a lance corporal. He said, well, you can't be Cowhead because he's Cowhead, so you must be Calfhead, son of Cowhead. And that was my nickname. For a military career, my nickname was Calfhead.
I used to go to like rugby summer camp, probably because my mum didn't like me or something, just to get ready for the summer. I was called Bog Brush. because believe it or not, I used to be quite a skinny kid with a massive fucking sward, and my mum would always like all parents were just like grade 2 buzz cut.
Yeah.
So I'd go around with this fucking really short, spiky hair,
Fuzzy hair.
heady head, fuzzy head, big fuzzy head, skinny body, bog brush.
Yeah.
Every 3 years I went.
I love a good nickname.
Yeah.
I'm mad for it. And people used to be like, people would sometimes use the name Carfed with real venom. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's my name. No one else has got that name. Fine, cool, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, bog brush was my name.
When
or
we were at
kitchen pig when I was a KP.
When we were at school, Rom's nickname was Deepmar. Swear down.
Fucking hates it as well.
100% it was Deepmar was his nickname at school.
Yeah.
So, it's been going a while.
It's not a new thing. Yeah. He came out with jack boots on. Right, thank you, 65p Joe Academy. Will the stock price increase tonight? Will we get 3-0 Joe back?
I've seen Paddy's list, probably not, no.
I read Paddy's list and I was like...
The gloves are off tonight, chat.
Yeah.
If you want to see fun, engaging, competitive content, which is quite rare for YouTube because it's either fun and engaging or it's competitive.
Yeah.
And if people are doing competitive, it's often not fun and engaging. If you want to see fun and engaging, competitive content, tune in tonight. Joe's dialed his list up quite a lot.
Yeah.
Right, dialed it up a hell of a lot, actually, in an attempt to get his win. And Paddy went, I see your dialed up list. And I say no.
Yeah.
I'm excited for tonight. Come and join us.
I saw 3 fire blades and I was like, 30 breaches
We know
of
where
this,
they're
are
going.
we? Yeah. Thank you, Joe's losing streak. Sorry, folks, I'm here to stay. I saw Paddy's list. You're probably not far off. Tank the Unknowing, thank you for 5 gifted memberships.
Thank you, Tank.
I hope next time you go to an event that we're at, you're in the same hotel with us again and have breakfast with us. Because he had dinner with us, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Yeah. It was nice.
Yeah.
But I hope you're right in the middle. Like you're like part of a Joe and Liam sandwich.
Strong wish that. He got a good one there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Joe tackle it to the ground and pound. Can't believe it's Paddy. So I don't think Joe's going to... Maybe you are capable of it.
Ground and pound?
Yeah, Paddy on the... I don't think you could take him.
I don't know if I could because he's a professionally trained person.
I think, yeah.
And I just watched a lot of WWE.
I used to work with a lad known as Coleman's just because he's a bit too keen on his first day. That's a fucking great name. I love that kind of stuff, by the way. I'm mad for that.
Thank you. I've known a lot of Arthurs in my time.
Arthur Job.
Arthur Job,
Yeah. There was I think it's either a radio show or a podcast show or something of Australians who get people to phone in nicknames.
Rock FM.
Some of them are fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rock FM. If you can find it, it'd be great. Thank you, Sega Grow Hunter. I'm happy to lose every game so long as I'm happy with my list. Currently, all Terminators. Belial, he is the only because he is the only first captain of the first, and the Lion, or a field of Berserkers and maybe some other stuff. Oh, Joe. Thank
all
you.
Terminator, Deathwing, or all Berserkers.
Yeah.
I like you a little bit more.
I keep trying to write
what fucking
World
legend.
Eater army lists, and every time I write, because I don't like 8-bound. I kind of write them like
specifically the models.
I just don't like the models. The rules are fine, but the models I don't like. I think the normal Chaos Space Marine Possessed are much nicer. But every time I write a list, I'm like always a bit underwhelmed.
Yeah.
The whelm is down.
Yeah.
I want more whelm.
I'm back on Eldar at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Wee Man's fault. He talked to me about it at length at the weekend.
Yeah. Thank you, Farmer George. AOS question. What are your guys' opinion on the Seraphon Spearhead? The one thing that puts me off is the Carnosaur model. No idea why, it just does. You don't have to build... So what some people did, Tom, who was here on the weekend, he had the Seraphon one.
Guy who worked was called Aladdin because his name was Matt Ryder.
Wow.
Sorry, that's
and he built
great.
the other version of it, the one with the little the other big lizard with the skink on it. And the great thing about Spearhead is because the units are set, you could build other versions and just run them as those.
Yeah, they're on the same base, same
fine.
size model,
Yeah.
essentially. That's a fucking great
Farmer
name.
George, do you run the big dairy farm in Shaftesbury? It's a massive dairy farm. It's just huge. Huge. It is.
Oh.
He likes cows.
What?
You never
I mean,
know.
there's a lot of farms
Do
in
all,
this country.
do all farmers know each other?
I mean, after yesterday's budget, there'll soon be less farms in this country.
I don't. I was reading. I obviously my TikTok became very political the last 2 days.
I won't go into it because political. It's about one of the only real points I disagree with. To be honest with you. Yeah.
I watched a great TikTok about obviously the budget came out and then there's a guy taking the piss out of everyone on TikTok and Instagram and stuff that was like, oh, they've only done this. Is that good? Is that bad? Do we know? Kind of thing. Is oh, she's done this, and he's like, oh, well, we're happy about that. Okay, good, kind of thing. Where everyone and he's like, oh, someone needs to release a chart so I understand it, and then he does a picture of a chart. He's like, I don't know what this means.
Yeah.
I think Farmer George, just build what you want, mate. The Seraphon Spearhead is really, really good quality.
The Seraphon Spearhead is an incredible box. I don't know why the console may put you off. I guess perhaps from a painting project perspective. Yeah. But I actually think that, if I'm honest with you, I actually think that Seraphon are one of those armies that, with basic contrast and dry brushing techniques done well, the paint takes those models really well because of the texture that's put into them on the plastic from GW. So with all the scales and all the skin and veins and stuff like that.
And keep talking, and we're back in a minute.
I honestly believe that watch someone like War Hipster, for example, watch War Hipster for contrast, watch Artis Opus for dry brushing. If you follow those two painting channels and you follow their guides, I think that you can turn Seraphon into something genuinely beautiful just by using the contours, the shapes, the scales, the recesses of those models. And I think the other thing as well is with Seraphon is it allows you to be a little bit more experimental with colouring and stuff like that, and you can go a bit crazy with it. I think the model is a bit derpy looking. Have you seen it in the flesh? It sounds like a silly question, but if you've only seen it in imagery, in the flesh it's actually quite nice, really nice. Imagery, Games Workshop's photos often don't do a lot of favours, so perhaps it's worth a Google and look at photos of other people's Carnosaurs where they've probably taken them from not a stupid angle, right? That would be my best advice. I actually think it's a really pretty model on the whole. But I think, as with a lot of things, so take, for example, in Warhammer 40k Angron, when Angron was released, their photos of it, I thought it looked awful. Joe built it, put it on the table in front of me, and I thought it was fucking stunning, and I loved it. Photos don't often do models justice. It's hard to see the depth, it's hard to get the right angle, and their golden angle is often not a golden angle. It's not great at all. So, a penny off our pints, though, yeah, would have saved me 12p on Tuesday. Cool. Not me, I'm a Dartmoor man. Farmer George is in Dartmoor, Joe.
Oh, land of Hounds of Baskerville.
Yeah, you can't get yourself free milk, I'm afraid, mate.
I was going to ask him if you want. No. I was going to ask if you want to come and milk me. Whee! No.
So what Farmer George said was that his biggest issue is that model, he feels like it looks a bit derpy. And I've said to him that in person, not with Games Workshop's photographing, it's actually, I think it's a lot nicer.
Yeah, it's not. It looks like a giant dinosaur.
And what I said to him was, if you hit up War Hipster for contrast and you hit up Artis Opus for dry brushing tutorials, and you combine the two on Seraphon, I think you made them look stunning, to be fair. So yeah, cool.
Thank you, Buckshot81 for 5 gifted memberships. I hope next time you make pancakes, the mixture is perfect, and the first one isn't a throwaway.
That's good, that.
I hope, because last time I made them, I thought I'd done it all right, and then I went to flip it, and it just went folded in half, stuck together.
I really wanted it to be a good one, because what Joe thought he would do is yesterday, when we had no stream, stealthily upgraded to Acer, so no one could make a big deal about it for him.
Why would I do that?
Everyone makes a big deal when someone goes to Acer, Joe. It's our highest level of membership.
But who went to Acer?
Buckshot81.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant me. I was like, I'm not an Acer.
No, Joe, it's his
just work
name.
here.
He was here all weekend. He didn't learn his actual name.
Yeah,
That's
but
a no, Joe.
I don't. The problem is that he did come up to me and go, "Hi, my name's Buckshot81." He was like, "Hi, my name's Joe."
So I said the word Joe.
Yeah, but it could be any Joe. Joe Pasquale, Joseph Stalin, Joe Shabadoo.
Carry on, Joe. Sorry, Joe.
Not even sorry. All right, thank you, Super Ready. The real issue with Crusade is where it's campaign based. It becomes a systematic, stats based approach to what should be a more natural unfolding story. Yeah, and I think the problem is like in terms of when you transfer Crusade to obviously because we got to look at it in terms of content creation, right? If we do a Crusade, we have to stick realistically to one army because if you do Crusade with multiple armies, it becomes a logistical fucking nightmare, right?
Rabbit.
And so we all have to stick to one army, and that only really works if everyone can come in really regularly. Like so if Paddy chooses Tau, right, he can only make it once a month realistically at the moment.
Yeah.
So he does one game for Crusade. He might as well just play normal 40k.
I think also part of it is back to Soups' comment is people go, I don't know, you can take a boon of some sort. That's the best one. I'm taking that one.
Yeah,
and it does become a stats based, and I think this is a problem. I think this is a wider problem in Warhammer in general. And we talked about this a little bit with the AOS team around the launch of new AOS because they had a similar problem in Age of Sigmar as well, where people look at things. And this is what I'm talking about when I talk about competitive versus casual, etc.
Yeah.
And I talk about the joy of what my brother's experience currently is in Warhammer. A lot of people get to a point where they now look at things inside Warhammer 40k or AOS, and the question is simple. Which is the most efficient for my points at doing the thing I wanted to do? Which is the most efficient at killing? Which is the most efficient at this? And that becomes the choice. And so no longer do you see people go, yeah, but I really like fucking Devastators.
Yeah.
Are they the most efficient? No, Eradicators are so much more efficient than Devastators. Devastators are not efficient. Yeah, but you really like Devastators, so take Devastators.
Yeah. So obviously I got Dwarfy Man. Oh, what's his bloody name? My head's just gone down the bloody Gotrek, right? I ordered Grombindle, the White Dwarf, because in the new White Dwarf magazine, his rules are written for AOS. And I was like, well, I could add some dwarfs to my Age of Sigmar, so I could get some like hammerers. Right? And then I looked at the hammerer rules, and they're awful. And I was like, I'm not going to waste my money on them now.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Which
I think is sad though. I'm not criticising you, but I think it's sad.
But it's like, I've got, because now you can't buy them in boxes of 10, you can only buy them in boxes of 20, so it's like 50 quid for the box. And I was like, I can't justify spending 50 quid on a unit that's literally useless. And what I should have done is just bought it and not looked at the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which when we started AOS on the channel was one of the most beautiful things
because I got my entire Soulblight army without considering any rules.
Exactly.
So it was one of those like, I think, 'cause I was like, I want a cool dwarf army, but now I ruined it by actually looking to see what they can do.
I'm currently dicking around with an Eldar list that I want to get painted, and I'm thinking about trying to take to Beachhead after chatting to Nick at the weekend. And do you know what? I threw the list together loosely knowing things did, but I was like, just going to build a list of the shit that I like. What do I like? I like Wraith Guard, I like Wraith Knights, I like Banshees. That's my list. Now, I think it will be more effective than the last one that I took to Hellstorm, but I was going down the route of really dialing lists in, and I'm like, straight up, I don't think I ever will be at risk of this. You know what I don't want to do? I don't want to play the top tables. I'm not interested in playing the top tables. And I mean this with all due and total respect, Jay. I saw your game 3 and 4. I don't want that experience.
So, yeah, it's...
No, you won 3, lost 4, but I don't want that experience. No, don't get me wrong, your game 4 opponent was a fucking wonderful human being.
Yeah.
Forget his name, Tom. Tom was, and he beat you, and he was. That made that experience better.
Yeah.
But if you're playing at that level against a person who isn't as nice as Tom,
well, that's the problem, isn't it? Like, no offense to you people out there, but more often than not, incredibly competitive players are a bit of a grind to play against. Because it's a bit of a grind, and I think a lot of competitive players, right, are turning into like vegans, you know, right? How do you know if someone's a vegan? I'll tell you. You know?
Twice.
Yeah. Like the amount of times I've come up to a table and someone's gone, I'm number 4 in the world for Eldar. I'm like, I don't care. I'm now like, you're a knob. Right? Right. And this is not, don't go on the internet and look to see, because it was like a year ago. But it's like when the first thing someone tells me of is their rank in a fucking table, I'm like, this is already going to be a bad game. I'm already annoyed.
We spent some money today on Eldar models because I've given Joe. So obviously, I don't know if you guys saw over the course of the last week, it's a monumental leak that came out of GWHQ, and they showed off the new Fjaugen model, which, by the way, I think is fucking perfect.
Oh, he's incredible.
I think it is a perfect sculpt. As an Eldar fan, I think it's perfect sculpt.
Yeah.
Some people have said it's not really dynamic. I think it's fucking gorgeous. Anyway.
Not all models have to be dynamic, by the way.
I mean, obviously, we also know that in the early 2025, there will be new Eldar models and a new Eldar Codex coming. Now, the likelihood of me getting, if there's more rumours about what's coming out, okay, Fire Dragons, Warp Spiders are the 2 big ones I've heard so far.
Yeah.
I cannot say we've heard anything because we wouldn't be allowed to anyway. But also, you guys know full well that if I'm talking about it now live on air, we have no information, okay? So I have no idea what's coming. But if it's more than a single model, there's no way I'm going to get it painted in time with the amount of time we do get given. So Joe will be painting it. I'm also working on my own Eldar army. What I've also done is I've pulled the shackles off of Joe and said, build a studio Eldar army, go. And what was nice today, right, was make sure we've got 10 Banshees, make sure we've got 10 Reapers, make sure we've got 10 Guardians, make sure we've got 10 of these. I was like, this is going to be such a lovely, well-rounded army. Such a lovely, well-rounded army that I'm actually very much looking forward to it. What we're also going to do here, and Paddy's out back, he doesn't know this yet, is I'm also encouraging Joe, and I'll encourage Paddy to do the same, to pick other armies that we play and learn them, because I was saying, actually, do you know what we've never done? We've never done World Eaters versus Eldar. Never done it. Because I play World Eaters, I play Eldar. We've never done Black Legion versus Raven Guard. Because Joe plays Black Legion and Joe plays Raven Guard. We've never done Thousand Sons versus Tau, because Paddy plays both. So I pick up Thousand Sons, Joe picks up Eldar, Paddy picks up Raven Guard, for example. We then suddenly get more combinations of matchups that we haven't seen in the past.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really, really good. But just picking the Eldar models out to send to Joe to get them painted, it was a case of a nice rounded army, take shit you like. I'm a big fan of that. Big fan of that, genuinely.
Speckleframe said that he won the competition last night for the Combat Patrol. Soulblight is their Combat Patrol is a great start for the army.
Who said this?
Speckleframe was like, it's a Soulblight army. Spearhead.
DM me as well. I was asleep.
Yeah. If you're going to start Soulblight, their box set is an incredible start. If they still sell it, there's the other box set which comes with Snake Lady, Bats, and 10 dogs in it. If it's still available from Element, it's actually cheaper than buying the Bats and the dogs separately. And you get a free model, so it's actually got a really good discount on it. Some Games Workshop still have the Christmas box set as well from last year.
Yeah.
Which is mental because it was a really good box set. If you can find that, that's a great step next afterwards. Thank you, Evan Terminello, for one gifted membership. Thank you, Chris Prime. Does that mean that he's like the best Chris?
Yeah, he is the Chris.
He is the Chris.
Yep.
I wish people would give Crusade missions a shot. You don't have to play with Crusade rules, just play the mission. List looks so different when you have no secondary scoring.
That's an interesting concept. I didn't think about that, actually. I like that as an idea, doing some of the Crusade missions without playing the Crusade mechanics.
Yeah.
So not worried about tracking the individual unit things, but playing the missions.
Yeah.
We'll have to have a look. That might be worth looking at.
Was there a book that came out recently for Crusade? I don't know.
I'll be honest with you. I'll be straight up. If I see Crusade on something, I typically ignore it.
Yeah. Thank you, Prentice. It says story mode, which can purposefully be unbalanced, casual, most balanced, provided both players go into it wanting to have the same fun. Match play. Try bend your opponent over. Yeah, they need to, because before they had casual, narrative, and match play.
Yeah.
And then they got rid of narrative entirely, didn't they? And it just became they got rid of casual and it just became match
So
play.
I don't feel like they've ever really had narrative play.
Yeah.
I feel like Crusade is the closest we've ever had to narrative play. And I think Crusade doesn't do a bad job of showcasing narrative. The problem I have as a person who, the amount of times people say to me, oh, you're more of a narrative channel. I'm not a narrative guy. Joe's a narrative guy. Joe knows more about the narrative than I will probably ever know about the narrative, without failure, without doubt. Joe has probably forgotten more about the narrative than I actually know about the narrative of Warhammer 40k. I said this when I used to play with Winters quite regularly, and he was a huge narrative guy. I am not a narrative person in Warhammer. I like the narrative, I'm invested in the narrative, but I'm not a narrative dude.
Yeah.
I'm a beer and pretzels, garage hammer, casual Warhammer dude. That's all I fucking care about.
Yeah.
I can't do hyper-competitive because I just don't have the energy to stand there and be a dick at a table for 3 games straight. I can't, 5 games to 6 games straight. I can't do it. I could do it for a couple and I just get fatigued and I just want to have fun and drink beer.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I'm not a narrative person. I would suggest that Crusade is probably the closest I think GW have got to an actual narrative mode in modern Warhammer in the last few years. In terms of casual Warhammer, I feel like we lost casual Warhammer when we lost Maelstrom and Eternal War missions.
Yeah.
If I'm honest. But they do some releases with campaign books and stuff that makes it slightly better. Excuse me, but I feel like the loss of Maelstrom, which at the time, I feel quite guilty about this because at the time I was calling for Maelstrom to go away because the randomness was annoying me. And I wanted it to be more dead cert result because I didn't like the fact that I'd lose to the cards. And now in hindsight, I'm like, actually, that was a beautiful mechanic that we should have never lost.
Yeah. I think what they should do to make tournaments more fun is that, because obviously Games Workshop's made a list of something like 20 mission choices or something, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like when you pick the cards and then it gives you a table, like a terrain layout. Is that instead of everyone playing the same mission every round, is that every table rolls randomly.
My cog's gone again, by the way.
Oh, mine's gone as well.
It's really weird.
So it's just random all the time.
Yeah.
It'd be more fun. I think narrative works well, best run as an event, and the TO kind of, it's really hard to it's really difficult to force a narrative. But also letting it run a bit wild. I think you're almost better off saying you're going to fight over an area, and whoever wins, and there's going to be a bunch of random missions. Some of the missions might be linked, and it's a bit more fun. And you go, we've got a table which is like a crashed ship, and then we've got a table which is fighting on a space station, or you're in a big cathedral kind of thing. And you go, these are all kind of interlinked, but ultimately, it's just which faction wins the weekend, because it's really hard. And I think narrative events always do better when you make sure people just have mad fun. Thank you, Stick Monkey says, hope it's a better meal booking than Saturday.
The only grey to black mark on a weekend. Oh, you were having a good time, weren't you? Out on Slightly Saturday.
It was all right, yeah. Student Halloween night.
Yeah.
It was good. The venue's really, really nice. A lot more steps than I was expecting.
Don't be one of those people. Don't be one of them step complainers.
I don't mind about steps and stairs. I just feel, but the problem is I didn't go to the bar. It was not my problem. But the bar was at the top of the stairs.
There's a bar downstairs next to the chef's hatch.
Was it?
Yeah.
Everyone kept going upstairs to get their
You didn't need
drink.
to. There's a bar right there.
Oh. It's their fault then. People would often get me a drink and then they disappear for 10 minutes. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Buckshot81, also called Joe. I bloody loved The Hobbit. I liked The Hobbit pub, the upstairs, but it was kind of on theme, but not. It was traditional English pub with medieval / fantasy theme. It became a lot more ropey the further away you walked from the bar.
But let's also not forget that Joe didn't leave the Hobbit till 3 a.m. after Jaeger bombing himself through the last 3 hours. There's a reason why he probably had a bloody great time, Joe.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people in any kind of place, once they're absolutely full of beer and Jaeger bombs, typically then have a good time until the next morning. Sven did not have a good time the next morning.
Oh, no, he had to leave early.
He was rougher than a raccoon's ring piece.
Have you seen what Mandy's has written?
No.
You take that where you want.
Tried a 4-man game, and that took hours. Oi, oi.
Thank you, Alex Cullen.
Hey, Alex.
I don't know why I shouted that. I think it can be difficult to be casual in 40k when some units have a stupid amount of firepower or defense. It makes a feel-bad moment for when someone really easily destroys your favorite models.
Yeah.
We're in an edition where if the terrain layout isn't perfect, one person can pick up 70% of your army turn one.
Yeah, and things in this less lethal edition are now so incredibly efficient at killing the things. So again, go back to the list building step and force org charts, etc. Because you can take whatever you want now, you make sure you take the most efficient unit at doing whatever that thing is. So people in their mind will be going, I'm building a unit to kill 3 wound models. I'm building a unit to kill 2 wound models. I'm building a unit to kill monsters. I'm building a unit to kill tanks. I'm building a unit to kill chaff, right? So when you then deploy some stuff, and you end up hitting that rock, paper, scissors moment where you have 20 guardsmen or you have 5 terminators or whatever it might be, and your opponent goes, here's my unit that's perfectly designed for killing 3-up armor. I'm going to point it at that unit, and once I've played a stratagem, used my rerolls, blah, 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 your unit is dead.
Yeah. Well,
And when you look at a unit terminators, which are averaging 200 to 250 points for a unit roughly, if you lose that in 1 turn of firepower, supposedly one of the toughest things in the galaxy, tactical dreadnought armor, and it dies within seconds to a single unit with a stratagem, so a CP cost a character, and it's been blown off the table, you're right, it does create feels bad.
Yeah, it's like, I think the problem is there's too many super cheap units that are punching way higher than they should, right?
I'd agree.
I'm gonna complain about it. Don't take it personally, Paddy. Breaches for Tau. Right? They're like 100-point unit or something. 110
with the fire blades.
Yeah, maybe 160.
160, 170 with the fire blade,
right?
yeah.
That unit puts out 30 shots that hit on 3s, wound most things in the game on 3s, because they're like strength 6. They're -2 AP at the range when they are strength 6. They reroll all hits and wounds.
Right.
And you can get lethal on those.
The only problem is,
right? There's not much that's walking away from that. Right?
It's incredibly efficient.
Unless it's toughness 12, right?
I don't
which
think
one you're winning it on 6s. And
I don't think that makes a huge difference, Joe.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, like a unit of Terminators at toughness 5 is just gone.
Yeah.
Right? From that. It's pretty mental. And there's too much stuff in the game that is AP2.
It's the bottom sentence.
Wow.
Yeah, I won't read that out.
Yeah. There's too much stuff in the game that's AP2. That's like, we had this discussion when John was playing. We had John here playing Heresy. I prefer the Heresy / 7th edition version of AP. Because if you look at Deathwing Terminators, you look at Custodes as an army, you ain't getting your 2-up armor save very often anymore.
I'm really torn. I think I prefer the Heresy armor save mechanic simply from nostalgic reasons.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's arguable that having a negative AP modifier means that the game is more open and you don't just go, oh, I literally can't kill that unit. It's impossible for me to kill that unit because you've got 10 Terminators. I don't have any AP2 or 1 in my army, really. Or you've killed the AP2 stuff straight away. So that I think the old system in itself can create feels bad moments.
Yeah.
And so I genuinely don't know which one I prefer. At least if you've got like, even an AP1 modifier puts a Terminator on a 3-up, at least you're like, okay, I can't just flat ignore its armor, but I have a chance.
Yeah.
I can still do some damage to it. It's hard, it's a difficult one. It's difficult, I honestly think it's a difficult one. I think I would agree with you that I prefer the older system, but I can see how that could in itself create feel bad moments, to be honest with you.
It's just, I think it's like, there's too much stuff in the game that's just got inbuilt abilities to just go like, that unit's dead.
Dev wounds.
Yeah, dev wounds.
Dev wounds needs to go away.
Yeah, and also like the distribution of dev wounds is all over the place. Some units have it capped. Like you could do 6 devastating
I'd
wounds.
say, here's an idea for you,
And then
Jake.
someone's like, no.
How about this for a system, right? And I've literally just come up with this off the top of my head. How about this for an armor system, okay? Let's change it up a little bit. Let's imagine it's 11th edition.
Yeah.
So let's say every weapon has an AP modifier as per current 10th edition.
Yeah.
-1, -2, -3, -4.
Yeah.
We change invulnerable saves.
Yeah.
Invulnerable saves now mean you ignore AP.
Yeah. Makes sense, yeah.
So a Terminator with a 2-up armor save and invulnerable save,
Yeah.
you hit me with an AP3 weapon, 2-up save, mate. I'm a Terminator.
Yeah.
Maybe we do something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. But then it makes invulnerable saves incredibly strong then. But
But
then,
they can give less stuff in vulnerable saves.
yeah. Yeah.
I think. But also, we're talking about invulnerable saves being very strong on a 2-up save unit. You've got a 5-up save Banshee with an invulnerable save.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, you've got things like Harlequins and Banshees that are like, got a 5-up armor save, 5-up invulnerable save. Why have they even got an armor save? It's pointless.
Yeah.
Because they're just getting vulnerables anyway. But if you remove dev wounds and do that with invulnerables, like I've got an AP1 weapon hitting anything with an invulnerable save, it doesn't matter. It hasn't got an invulnerable save, it does modify the armor.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a nicer
Yeah,
system.
because
I don't know.
sometimes, it's got a 6-up armor save, but it's got a 4-up invuln, and you're like, great, but there's nothing in the game anymore that ignores invulnerable saves.
Yeah.
There was too much in 9th edition that ignored invulnerable saves, and now it's all gone. Kind of thing.
That's not what invulnerable saves do, those soups. Because if invulnerable saves say that they ignore AP completely, then and you hit a Terminator with an AP2 weapon, well, because he's got an invulnerable save, he still have a 2-up armor save because it ignores AP in my new system. Currently, you hit a Terminator with an AP2 weapon, he gets a 4-up save, not a 2-up save. So, yeah, I think maybe that someone somewhere will tell me a reason why my system's bad and creates feel bad moments. I'm sure they will. I'm not a rules writer, I have no doubt. But I want something that makes, because invulnerable saves are everywhere at the moment and often make armor saves obsolete because AP is so prevalent, specifically AP2, like you say. The joke we have talking about melee weapons.
Yeah.
What's the standard profile for a melee weapon in 40k?
Strength 6 -2 damage.
-2 damage. So Terminator is just getting 4-up invulns.
Yeah, when they put Terminators up from toughness 4 to toughness 5, we're like, yay, it means nothing.
Yeah, it literally meant nothing at all.
Because everything in the game is strength 6. For some
Absolutely. Anyway, thank you, Alex, for the 10. You're a legend.
reason. Yeah. Thank you, Weeman, for 10 gifted memberships.
Thank you, Nick, you wonderful human being.
I hope next time you eat toffee, it doesn't get loads of like stuck in your teeth. You hate that. It like gums your teeth together.
Yeah, okay. I'm into it.
Yeah. Thank you, Pad Cannonby. Jokingly set one up next door. So we get to the Pad Cannonby in a full swing tonight. Shareholders will be pleased.
Shareholders will be pleased.
Yeah.
Machine says custodians would be invincible, but they wouldn't be invincible because what you do then is you restrict down the number of models they can take to be more representative of custodies.
Yeah.
So if you're saying a 2-up armor plus invulnerable means that custodies as a 2-up army are ignoring all AP, custodians you then don't have. This is where people misunderstand sometimes what we're going on about. You then don't have 30 custodians on the table.
No.
You don't need to.
No. You end up with 15.
Yeah. Because you can have half as many because they just don't die as fast.
Like custodians now are almost turning it into a small horde army.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, they are. I mean, look how many mods you get from Space Marines now as well. You know, you get a lot.
insane.
You get a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pad Academy, anyway, for the 5.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom Mitchell, for 5 gifted memberships.
Trying to buy our love, Joe. Thanks,
I know.
Tom.
Thanks, Tom. I
See you later.
That your next tournament, you win it.
I hope the next tournament, the Tau player doesn't claim that Kroot have a 5-up invuln in melee.
Right. Controversial, right? I don't want to upset anyone. Right. I had a conversation with someone the other day.
That's not like us.
I said, like, the best, like, when you get to the real, really, like, the best players in 40k are the ones who cheat the best. Or you find, because I had this conversation with someone who's a bit salty about events, and the general stance is that, and it's been heard out loud from competitive players, like where there's this real niche section where competitive players, like, unless they think you're incredibly good at the game, like unless they know who you are, unless you're like a name, they're like, just take him for what I can, get the game done over with. And this person that said, this Tau player was like, I'm X in the world kind of thing as Tau, kind of started the game, and then it's like, this is like, if you're number one, or if you're in the top 10 in the world of anything, for any faction, you shouldn't be getting simple rules for your army wrong. Unless you're doing it on purpose.
I don't disagree with you. Yeah. I always try and land on the unintentional instead of intentional.
Right. Yeah.
I try and land on that side as often as possible because I've made cock-ups. I know the game quite well.
Yeah.
I play lots of armies. I've made cock-ups and gone, I've made a mistake there. My issue comes, so Tom had an experience, he shared it in Thames, so people know about it, so I don't think it matters me talking about it too much, where a guy used incorrect rules which would have had quite the difference in how the game played out, okay? That in itself happens a lot, and I don't necessarily think that anyone who is on the not on the receiving end, anyone who's on the end of the person who's done that is particularly evil or bad or cheaty necessarily, but lo and behold, the individual got those rules wrong. And I've been involved in a similar circumstance when I was a head TA. Right? At a GT, game 3, an individual played an individual, 2 people played each other, and one person got their rules very wrong.
Yeah.
And it was simple, basic rules, strength of weapons, predominantly, they got them very wrong.
Yeah.
That got brought to my attention overnight that those rules were wrong. And when I checked up on both parties and what was being used versus what the rules were, it came to light that they had both, that particular rule had been used incorrectly, and it probably almost definitely impacted the game. Now, it's actually very hard to say whether it did or didn't have impact the game or not, but nonetheless, the way my brain works as head TA, it's irrelevant. You used wrong rules.
Yeah.
You haven't played correct rules. So whether it would have made a difference as to who won or lose is largely irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
So the next morning, pulled the 2 people in, had a conversation with them before I drew pairings, explained what I found out, what had been done, like what rules had been used incorrectly, why they had been used incorrectly, explain what had happened to the 2 individuals. The guy who used the rule incorrectly had won the game, and the guy who obviously hadn't used the rule incorrectly had lost the game.
Yeah.
I switched the result.
Yeah.
Because that was the right thing to do. Because it doesn't matter. You can try and stand there and work out, well, actually, in turn 3, this would have happened. No, this is not how it works. That's not how it is, because you cannot actually say for certain how that would have impacted the game, really.
Yeah.
On occasion, you can go, actually, it wouldn't make any difference.
Well,
Very rare.
It's also like a lesson to that person. Like, because if that. So there would have been 3 games played that day, normally at a tournament, if it's a 2-day, 3-day one. If the rules cock-up has only been brought to you in the evening, that person has used those rules wrong for 3 games.
Potentially, yes.
Potentially use that for 3, which doesn't just impact that one game, it impacts all of them. I think the biggest problem I saw earlier is like Stickmark Sean said the issue here isn't the guy getting the rules wrong. My issue here is the lack of reaction from the TO, which is the biggest problem that the whole of the competitive Warhammer scene has at the moment, is that everyone doing, well, not everyone, but most of the people that run tournaments in the UK and across the world are doing it not for profit. They're doing it for free because they enjoy the game.
I agree.
Right? Which means they don't necessarily want confrontation. And people don't like confrontation. And it's like, some people are like, I can't be bothered to deal with this argument.
So why do you think they're avoiding confrontation? So I think they're avoiding confrontation predominantly because people typically don't like confrontation.
Yeah.
But guess what? You're a head TO. So being a head TO means, and this was how I behaved, you have to make decisions that people don't like.
Yeah.
And you might get to a point where you upset an individual because of a decision that you've made. Equally, and this is the way I approach it, if you don't make a decision, you can upset an individual because you haven't made a decision. Yeah. So in this particular circumstance, the individual that Tom played got a core rule wrong. That is a big difference in terms of how that army operated specifically versus the army that Tom was playing.
Yeah.
And Tom made the TO away the next morning. And the TOs didn't do anything apart from, we'll keep an eye on him. For me, I'm sorry if you're watching and you're from UKTC, that is a fucking piss poor excuse.
Well, I think so. Like, if they said we'll keep an eye on him, did they tell him that he's got his rules wrong?
That is a fucking pussy's way out.
Yeah.
And that, when we run GTs, etc. at Hobby House, that is fucking not how I will operate.
Yeah.
If you get your core mechanics wrong, and I find out that your core mechanics are wrong, for the one game that's reported to me, your score will be zeroed and will count as an L.
Yeah.
Because that's how it should be dealt with. And furthermore, you'll get fucking yellow carded.
Yeah, I think the issue is that because people don't like the confrontation, these people kind of get away with it and they keep getting away with it. And there needs to be a specific set of rules laid down by the ITC. They're like, be nice, shake hands, be friends. That's great. But there's no like, if you break the rules, this is what happens.
So the ITC has got a code of conduct, which means fuck all if nobody holds you to it.
Yeah.
If nobody holds you to the ITC code of conduct, you might as well not have one.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, 100%.
No point having law if you haven't got people to police it.
And the thing is, like, if you're getting your core army rule wrong, right? Like, I think you should, all your games should be a lot like if it's bought to a TO on a Saturday morning, on a Sunday morning, right? And that person's played 3 games on the Saturday. If they've won all 3, arguably all their 3 games should be losses because you're playing your entire army wrong to your. If you're playing it wrong to your detriment, and you've won your games, like say, oh, my army gets a 5-up invite, but I'd be giving myself a 6-up and I win. I don't think it should be it's not a problem. But if you're like, well, my entire army gets a 6-up, but now I've got a 5-up. I've gone from a 1 in 6 chance to a 1 in 3 chance of getting all my saves. Right, that's a massive benefit.
It's a huge difference.
And so you're like you probably should have lost. You like we can't tell if you should have lost all 3 of your games, but you should probably lose all of your games, like because your opponents could have won.
But this is if you. I think I'll be honest with you. There's a possibility that if I found out that individual used that rule that incorrectly, and I spoke to his other 2 opponents, so this individual also is a person who is quite highly ranked with the army.
Yeah,
has done some impressive things in tournaments in the past. I default to it's a genuine mistake. My gut is telling me it probably isn't a genuine mistake. So you, as a TO, you do a little bit of investigative work. You speak to his other 2 opponents. I probably at that point would even go as far as to say you've played a core mechanic wrong for 3 games straight, and your top tables at this event, you're red carded.
Yeah,
because you've cheated your way to the top tables. You've red carded.
Yeah,
I probably would. To be fair,
and I think the thing is because like one of the things that always like the weird things about the world that we live in, so such like as content creators, right? There are a lot of channels out there that thrive off of controversy from an event. You won't hear,
Mikey.
You won't hear about an event that happened on the weekend unless something happened at it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You don't hear
there
about the good
are literally
stories.
hundreds of tournaments, like GT level tournaments across the world, and sometimes, like on a weekend, there might be 50 GTs on of 30 people plus to hundreds of people, right? And you won't hear about any of them unless one of them, someone cheated or something happened because controversy sells. But it's always the case, if this person cheated, they did this, they're a bad person, right? Or they won a tournament and they cheated, they're a bad person. But there's and the GT, it is, I think a lot of people would be like, this person won the tournament, it turns out that they cheated all 5 of their games, the TO then red carded them and they counted as losing all of their games, and the person that came second won. You never hear about that. Well, you never hear about like their wins were taken away.
It's because
from them.
TOs don't have bollocks, majoritatively. I would always encourage people to go to Hellstorm events.
Yeah.
One thing you can certainly say about Mikey and his events
he runs a good tournament.
is he will not put up with bullshit.
Oh, I've drank like 4 cups of tea today and multiple coffees. Back in the moo. Keep
This is
talking.
your second toilet break in 90 minutes.
I know, Mum.
And your first one was just before the stream went live as well. But bottom line, Chaz, this is hard for a lot of people, right? And I'm going to encourage you to do something that some of you won't be confident or comfortable to do. And if you're not comfortable or confident to do something, then don't step outside that comfort zone necessarily. But I feel like we, as a community of gamers in general, if attending events, not only to hold our opponents accountable, but I also genuinely believe that we need to hold TOs accountable and to the way they behave and run events. UKTC is fighting to be one of the biggest tournament organisers, I think, globally. It certainly runs the biggest events here in the UK. I don't know the guy who owns or runs it. I've never met him. I can't make a comment on any of the TOs that are involved in UKTC because I don't know or met any of them. So from a personal level, from an individual level, this has got nothing to do with them as people, who they are, what they're about, etc. In that particular circumstance, though, when that level of rules mismanagement has happened, if you approach a TO who then takes no action but I'll keep an eye on him, I personally think that is completely unacceptable as a response to a quite serious issue. Like I said, when I had a similar instance, the guy had his score zeroed, his opponent then won the game and we scored him a reasonable number of points, so we switched the result, and it had a big impact on how the rest of the tournament played out. It is not good enough to go, oh, you got completely cheated out of a game? Yeah, we'll keep an eye on him. That is not acceptable, I think, from TOs. And if they're taking your money to go, because Joe isn't incorrect with what he says. A lot of TOs operate at not-for-profit. If you look at Adam, who was on the stream recently, who runs Beachhead and runs GTs and stuff down at Employment in Bournemouth, Poole, he doesn't take any money. He runs them for free. And I think that sometimes I get what Joe's saying about people that take your money, people that aren't taking any money, don't want the confrontation. Nonetheless, if you are going to a tournament, you have paid a ticket price. And if you're paying a ticket price, you should expect a certain level of service as part of that ticket price.
Yeah.
If someone's being a dickhead and you talk to a TO and they do nothing about it, then I think that's a bad event. And I think that you should rightly criticise the TO and the tournament. So like I said, Mikey will think nothing about approaching a table and fronting someone who's behaving like a dickhead, which is one of the reasons why I support Mikey's tournament.
The thing is, though, that person might turn around like, I'm never going to go to Mikey's event. But people are like, why aren't you? It's like, well, I cheated and I got kicked out. And people will be like, well, but the thing is, though, that person might go to other events and not cheat. They won't get their army rules wrong again. Well, depending on the kind of person they are. But if that person's like, well, I'm not going to do it again because I don't want to get banned from another tournament because people know that I'm the guy. Because, like I said, Mikey will tell people, this person cheated, I kicked him out.
Yeah.
And so when that person goes to an event somewhere else, they're going to be like, I need to watch you. That person's not going to have a great time for a while.
Tough, don't cheat.
But yeah, don't cheat. But they won't get their rules wrong and it'll eventually get done.
Kai says, I will confront all the cheats by individually milking them like a cat.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Anyway, we were supposed to be definitely finishing at 3, Joe. We've got a lot to do before we go out, so let's get through some more.
All right, then. Thank you, Weaver says, try those online list building sessions with that software you used last week. We can see you building lists whilst giving our input. Then use those lists for game streams, audience participation. Yeah,
that's not, I've thought about doing some of the stuff like this for Liam and Joe shows in the future, by the way. So I need to transpose the stuff I was using at home over here. But I figured we could, one day, we could be at the table. I could plug the list software into the computer.
Yeah.
I could live stream my phone out to the audience. We could have audience building lists that we then play that night. I think it's a good idea for some fun content. So yeah, thanks, Wimman, for the 2. I've already thought about doing that. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so they're never going to actually say I got kicked out because I cheated. So they're going to say the TO was an arsehole or something else that shifts the blame. Yeah, but that's the thing. Is like at that point, is like we don't want those people in the hobby. I would rather go to a tournament by someone who TOs correctly and kicks people out for cheating than someone that just lets people cheat.
So I get what Seeps is saying, though. Yeah. If I end up running tournaments here and become quite a robust TO, like I think I was in the past, and I start carding people and banning people for behaving like dickheads, it's possible that those individuals are going to throw the blame at me and be like, oh, it wasn't me, it was my TO, the TO was an arsehole.
Yeah.
I think that to be honest with you, I take that label. I take people calling me an arsehole because if someone comes to the table and said, my last tournament I got red carded, but the TO was an arsehole, I'm still going to be thinking, but you got red carded, why?
Yeah.
So I'm still going to watch you, and I'd like to think the player who got carded will still think, I still need to behave a bit differently.
Yeah. And what I think needs to happen is all tournaments run through BCP, right? BCP allows you to find tournaments, buy tickets, put your list in, register for tournaments, and it's all that, and it runs all the table pairings. That app needs to have a
A register.
a red, orange, green card-based system on it.
Yeah.
Everyone starts green. This person's good, and then when a TO goes, whether you go to a tournament and a TO for orange cards, red cards you, or yellow cards you, that goes straight into the app.
Yeah.
So the next event you go to,
I actually quite like that though.
it will show this like the TO. This person's got a red card. Right, keep an eye on them. Or there's like a time period. If you've been red carded, you can't go to GTs for a month.
Well, so that brings it direct from soccer, right?
Yeah.
You get a number of yellow cards, you get a match ban.
Yeah.
You get a red card, you get a number of match bans depending on what the red card was for.
Yeah.
So the red card was for like violent conduct. You can have like a 3 to 6 month match ban.
Yeah.
So you could do that with tournaments.
Yeah.
But then the problem is like a person that might go to a tournament and they might not want to go for 3 months. So you can't go to your next tournament.
No, you say like you can't, or like you can't go to your next. Don't say you can't. You have to do it time based.
6 months or something. Yeah.
I think red cards is probably a month, right? Because so. No, we're in a situation now, right?
Most people do 2 or 3 tournaments a year.
I know,
but a month's ban is pointless.
Yeah, but we're in a situation now where money is starting to get involved in tournaments.
Yes.
Right, which means, and people are taking it super, super seriously. Right, if we're in a situation where people are playing like to win at all costs because there's like £1,000 on the line, or there's a monetary prize if you're the best in that faction, or you're in the top 10 in the world, right? We need to start enforcing proper rules and regulations.
Yeah, I know, and I agree with you, but a month is not enough.
Or 2 month, or 3 month ban, quarter of a year, you know?
So I think for yellow, a certain number of yellows, that's probably fairer.
Yeah.
A red card, I'd probably go 6 month ban because what you can't normally do is compete at the top of the ITC if you've got a 6 month ban. But a month is pointless because people are like, cool, all right, I won't do a tournament next month.
But being like, if you get a 6 month, but then so like there needs to be a system in place to protect the TOs, but also, if you red card someone, that's a serious situation, which means that the TO has to be able to put their justifiable reasons in. Because you don't want to end up in a situation where, I don't know, I'm picking his name out of the air, right? Say Mayachima runs an event, and he goes, some of my competition are here, red card. They're no longer competition for me now for winning the ITC. So maybe you have it as a situation like you have to be able to justifiably say why and reinforce it, or people within the top 100 can't be TOs of events.
Yeah, interesting.
You know, because you don't want it to become a tool to basically, because there will be people out there. I'm not saying Manny. I'm just saying but the name just came into my head. There'll be people that might try and leverage their position to take people out.
Yeah, we don't think Manny would do that, but he has also been one of the best in the world of the last few years.
Yeah, so you need to have a governing body of that.
But I also think that people that are top tournament goers also shouldn't really be playtesters and have access to the competitive rules a year before they come out.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Matthew. I think that's a good idea. I think we will do that at some point, by the way. Brian, thank you for the 5. Do you think AOS 4th has more capacity for casual play compared to 40k? I've had a lot of fun playing casual AOS. I think AOS has less balance issues compared to 40k, which in turn leads it to be a better casual game.
Yeah.
Because it's less easy to completely steamroller your opponent. I still think the AOS rule set itself lends itself to tournament play more than casual play.
Yeah.
But the better balance means that casually there's less of a problem.
So like, I actually think that AOS 4 is the best written game that Games Workshop has put out in a long time. Like, obviously there is a few imbalanced things, but it's the most balanced. But what helps AOS 4 the most is that the rules are incredibly black and white. There is not as much ambiguity because of the new ability system that they've put in. There's no we know exactly when something happens, how it happens, and what it affects.
Whenever chat have pulled us on a rule, we've typically able to go into the rules. We take 5 minutes sometimes. You follow the little path, and you go, "Oh, I found out why that works that way now."
Yeah. Whereas in 40k, you've got 4 different units that have a rule that is identical, but it's written differently.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know which one takes precedent.
Erebus, thank you for the 5. The calf-headed bog brush show. Casual for the win.
Yeah.
Just drop a list. It's Death Leaper, Max Lictors, Neurolictors, Von Ryans, Parasite of Mortrex, and Raveners. That's a cool as shit list, by the way.
I like it. And
I'm a
you
fan of
take
that.
it in the Vanguard one, so all advances and charges.
Yeah, love it. Kev Thacker, thank you for 5 gifted memberships.
I hope next time it's really cold, your nipples don't poop through the t-shirt.
It's a problem, isn't it, for you often? Thanks, Kev, for the 5 gifted. Local Penguin, I don't know how local you are, but thank you for the 1 gifted membership. You're a hero. Stick Monkey, thank you for the 2. Don't know narrative. Have I got a book club for you? Nah. I watched that take place on Friday, Sean. Far too many dweebs.
Yeah, it's too nerdy.
It's too nerdy. There was a guy sat far side up at the table. Fucking Caiaphas Kane geek.
I know. 10s all round. But like, if Harriman wins this one, I ain't taking part. He's so boring.
Mandy, thank you for the 10. Kill team, single player, and co-op modes are great for casual play. Maybe 40k needs something similar. Agree.
Yeah.
I think it needs. So a lot of people will say to you, "How casual narrative gaming?" They'll say, "Who's narrative? You can do what you want." And I agree. You can absolutely you can. You can make up your own scenarios. You can introduce force organization charts. You can play Maelstrom. But let's be honest with you. Most war gamers typically want a structure from the company itself as to how to play the game in a kind of casual setting. And I don't feel like releasing a Maelstrom mission deck with 6 missions like we had before and there's 2 decks of cards would be that difficult. And they sell them, they'd make money.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'd be that hard. I think just giving people slightly more framework is probably the way I would want them to go about doing it. And then you can expand within that framework, but give them the framework in the first place. So I think you're right. I think we do need something like that in 40k as well. TSINI Productions, a traffic light system that is visible to other players works too. You know this player is yellow carded. So when you open I want to say this, when you open BCP, seeing a traffic light system underneath your opponent, I think is a positive.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to keep an eye on him because he's a fucking bellend, Eddie. Buckshot 81, thank you for the 10. I survived the whole of Sunday, although it was more exhausting than living.
Oh, yeah.
You looked all right towards the end, just.
You say it, yeah. I know how you feel. Well, I went 3-0, but that was a rough ride. I'm surprised I even managed the walk from your car to the front door.
You were both quite messy.
Yeah.
Prentice, thank you for the 10. Imagine if GW allowed you to be able to access all the rules. Means you could check your opponent's rules without having to trust your opponent. Never idea that. I want to give it more time because of the 10, but I think we probably should skip on. Yeah. Imagine if GW. Here's another novel idea as well, though. Printers, slightly more complicated. Imagine if BCP wasn't the complete shit show that it currently is. Imagine if GW had a pairings app within the 40k app. Imagine if I draw Joe and Joe's bringing Chaos Space Marines and I don't know Chaos Space Marines. At the point at which I draw him in the app, it opens up my ability to look at his rules. And then when I finish playing him and I register that I finished playing him, that open book goes away.
Yeah,
right? So I feel like even just doing that alone, so during the course of the game I've got access to his rules. So he says, I can do this thing. I'm like, have a look at that quick. You can't. Like, even just that alone. So don't necessarily, because they don't want to give stuff away for free. They don't give rules away for free. Despite what we think, and despite the conversations we've had in the past about subscription models, etc., 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 it's probably not going to happen. Probably not going to happen. All I want is just access to them during the game, which used to be pick up your opponent's book and look.
Yeah.
Which you can't do now, really.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't even fucking take a book to a tournament anymore.
I think we need to start enforcing that now.
Taking books?
Taking books.
Cool. So you bring your AdMech book to a tournament.
Yeah. It's all lies.
It doesn't
You'll
work,
never
Joe.
know.
It doesn't work.
But it's...
It doesn't work. Because you bring your AdMech book to the table and you tell me you can do a thing. I look at your book and go, no, you can't.
Yeah.
But on your app, you can, because they've changed it, the whole fucking thing. Liam and Russ, thank you for the 10. When I play competitive 40k, I get very nervous when I go to big events. As of recently, I've been picking up loads of WTC players, professional players. They said, why'd you get nervous, though, mate? I'm interested, genuinely.
Do they do like a big threat stance?
Yeah. I'm interested
like
as to...
a bear.
I get very nervous when I go to big events, as of recently I've been picking up. So you get nervous about playing WTC players? I'm interested as to why. Is it because you think they're going to try and cheat you? Is that like is your default like, because that's a really bad place for competitive 40k to be?
I think the problem might be like, you get a lot of tournaments where, it's not every tournament, but you do get people, your 40k vegans that tell you how great they are, or people that win at all costs, and you're like, I just want to play for fun. I just want to have a good time. Like, some of the best games of 40k I've played have been the most competitive game I've ever played.
Yeah, I agree.
Like when I played Tom at Hellstorm, that I lost. That was an incredible game. We had a great time.
Tom Lohman?
Lohman, yeah.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
Just because I want to get it right, because Tom is. I've played Tom. I played
Yeah.
Tom on Beachhead a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. He was a fantastic opponent then,
Yeah.
and he played you at Hellstorm. He was a fantastic opponent then. And when you have a player like Tom playing at that level,
Yeah.
who is also at the same time a fantastic opponent, they're the people that we should be championing.
Yeah,
Genuinely.
But then I've lost 2 games, gone into my 3rd game, and my opponent has been an absolute fucking nightmare. It's like we're both on 2 losses, mate. We're at the point now where it means literally nothing.
Yeah.
But they're like, I'm gonna get the chess clock out, you know. I'm gonna tell you my entire. I'm like, we're just playing for fun now. I think unless you've won all your games and you're 3 games in, I think at that point you're just like, how many beers can I have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh says, because he's had some cheating WTC players in the past. Okay, cool. I'm glad you responded. Did you speak to TOs about them?
Yeah.
Is my next question, and we'll get back to you. Roland Bain, thank you for the 10. How about no prizes? I want prizes. I don't like big cash prizes.
Yeah, I said like money's involved now. I don't want money to be involved.
Agree.
Right.
Strong agree.
If money's involved, it should only be in a professionally controlled environment. Like you got to think, right? If money's involved, you have 20 tables. Every single table has a judge at that table. You know,
It's difficult, isn't it? Because again, Mikey's event had a cash prize,
Yeah.
and there was no dickheads because Mikey,
Yeah.
because he doesn't put up with it. So you're right. If you're going to put money involved, you have to have robust TOs in place.
Yeah.
You have to have robust TOs. I personally, the only reason why I was slightly nervous about going to Mikey's event was predominantly because there was a cash prize involved.
Yeah.
And I felt like that attracts a certain type of player. Mikey, however, and his ability to quite happily plaster your name all over the internet, then normally puts that kind of player off at the same time.
Yeah.
So you need to have robust TOs. Personally, I agree with you. Don't want cash prizes at 40k events. Honestly, a beautiful little glass trophy, perfect, cool,
Yeah.
love it. I don't want cash prizes. Also, complete aside, but relevant, please, people, if you're going to run tournaments, stop giving out paint sets to the people that win best painted. They probably don't need them. They've just won best painted.
Yeah.
The amount of times I see a person win a starter set for painting.
Yeah, they win. It's recently been the like Army Painter War Paints or the Duncan Rhodes like paint set with the thing. I'm like, stop giving out paint.
Look, Josh says yes, and the TA said they will look into it. So, would it be fair to say that your nervousness going into big tournaments around WTC players isn't in fact the WTC players, is the fact that the TOs won't back you up and look after you?
Yeah.
Is that fair to say? And then we'll go into this last super chat from Mr. The Galahad. Only way to resolve these cheating incidents: duel at dawn. Choose your weapon of choice and your second, sir.
Yeah,
I'm into it.
What it should do,
Car park fight.
If your person's in trouble, that person should be taken to the front of the hall, and the tower should be like, this person is being kicked out because he's a massive bell piece.
Yeah.
You know? And
Ring the bell.
Yeah.
Everyone look at you.
Yeah, he's leaving now. We should all shun him from society. And they'll feel like a bit of a wally and then not do it again.
Yeah.
And if they do it again, car park fight.
Feel like a bit of a wally.
Yeah.
Is a great phrase.
I don't want to demonetize us too hard, you know?
No. You're saying they'd be a cunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I think we're in a position now where we need to embrace stricter rules and fairer gameplay. You know, like despite how we feel about them, the idea of what VT sells, you know, the dream that was Rome, fair play, sportsmanship.
Yeah, I mean,
shouldn't require a chargeable course to play on.
But you could also preach that to your blue in the face if you don't practice it yourselves.
So you need like sportsmanship and fair play shouldn't be limited to.
Here's the thing as well,
It
right?
should be everyone should just be doing it.
Yes, here's the thing. Sportsmanship and fair play shouldn't be a selling point.
No.
Sportsmanship and fair play should be the standard.
Yeah.
Not the selling point.
Yeah. Obviously, I used to be with VT, and I still believe in that's what everyone should be doing. But people only seem to be caring about it if they're paying the money.
Yeah.
I think we should be in a position now where, like, Games Workshop should be going sportsmanship, fair play, right? If you do wrong, you should be treated as someone who has done something wrong.
But again, that all exists in the ITC Code of Conduct, Joe.
Yeah.
Which is irrelevant if it is not enforced by any single individual.
Do you know what really bugs me when it's not enforced? Painting standards.
That's a whole different topic. If you don't enforce that code of conduct, though, you might as well not have that code of conduct. And I think if more TOs took a robust approach to people that, like Tom's experience, and it's not just Tom's experience, it's just we know Tom, and he was probed about this in Thanes. I don't want you to think he came to Thanes whinging and moaning about what went on.
Yeah.
He said something about a game. I think I asked him the question, he elaborated, people asked him some more questions, he continued to elaborate. He's not a moaner. But when an individual has that kind of experience and goes and talks to a TO, I asked Josh, would you say that your nervousness is about TOs? He said pretty much, which is interesting. At this point, his nervousness isn't even necessarily about facing a cheating player. It's about how well he will or won't be supported by the people running the tournaments. I would urge anyone who runs any tournaments out there, please be robust with people who are not playing within the spirit of the game.
Yeah, like so Tank the Unknown says, if there is a team that has several strikes against its members, should the team be put on notice too? Yes.
Agree.
Teams should, because it becomes a group thing now. If there was a bunch of people from the Great Hall that went to events that were massive arseholes, we as other team members should be able to turn around and be like, so sort your act out.
If you go to a tournament nowadays and you want to add a team name in, right, now what you can do is you can add your team as Great Hall Shield Wall, which you've been able to do for ages. However, now I am the owner of Great Hall Shield Wall. They've changed the way it works. And I can log in to the app or the website as the owner of Great Hall Shield Wall. And let's say Joe, and I'm going to use Joe as an example because I don't want you to think I'm pointing the finger at anybody. Let's say Joe signs up tomorrow to be a member of Great Hall Shield Wall for an event this weekend. What happens at that point is I get an email. Right? Now, if I already know you're a dickhead, I'm removing you from the team because I have the power to remove you from the team. Right? And then, when you go and play this weekend, if you then behave like a dickhead, and so let's say you haven't already got a reputation, I'm like, cool, Joe's just joined Great Hall Shield Wall, whatever. Let's say you go and play a tournament this weekend and I find out you get yellow carded. As a team owner, do you know what I'm going to do at that point? I'm going to remove you from the app. I'm going to remove you from the team. If an individual who owns a team doesn't remove people from a team and you end up with 5 people out of 10 who have cards, I think you should show that this team is a negative team. I think you're right. Mike the Runner, thank you for the 5. I've seen players know you are making a mistake, let it go all game, and instead of help you wait till the end of the game and cry foul to win, sad. That is sad as well. And I feel like there has to be a bit of a responsibility on the player that if you see an issue at turn 2, and you wait till the game finishes and you go to a TO and go, he was cheating from turn 2, a TO also should be able to go, did you not ask him about it?
Because it's like...
If you knew it was from turn 2, why didn't you say anything?
Because I think it's one of those situations where if you know your opponent's cheating and you win, it doesn't matter. But the problem is, if that person goes... It's still in your job to tell the TO, I won the game, I don't care, my opponent was cheating. Can you tell them they're cheating, or that I've told them they're cheating, can you keep an eye on them, keep a check-up on them? Because if you don't tell them they're cheating, or if you tell that person, like, you've got this rule wrong, it might be an accident and they might just fix it, and then the next game they're fine. But if they're actively cheating and you don't pull them up on it, they're going to do it the next game.
But so I do a thing,
and
I target Joe's death company, and I kill 8 out of 10, and then we find shortly after that I got the rules wrong. The way I go at tournaments, we not so much on stream, but at tournaments I overcorrect on purpose. I like put them all back on because we don't, and I'm not going to roll it again. I made a cock up. You put them all back on. That's my mistake, and I'll overcorrect it. On stream, we'll go put 5 back on, keep it balanced because we want to keep the game balanced. But I put them all back on. It's my mistake. And that's very rare that happens, but. People do need to, but people also will have more confidence confronting people in turn 2 if they think that when they go to their TOs, the TOs are going to positively act as well. And give them the support and backup that they deserve at the table, because some people can turn into arseholes. Anyway, we were supposed to finish half an hour ago. We've got a lot of work to do before I take you to Cosmos, you play to Cosmos. So I've got to make the army lists. I'm looking forward to typing these out because they are pretty horrific army lists, Joe.
I think Paddy's is worse than mine.
We'll see. So look out for that. So, 7:30, we have got the rematch. Joe is back for CSM versus Tau. We did this 2 weeks ago, and Joe got bummed. You lot then sent him lots of money via PayPal. He spent it all on stuff for his Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah.
That's all turning up tonight, including Obliterators, Predators, etc. So Joe has gone from 10 to 100 with his list, and Paddy went, I see your 100, I raise you 200.
Yeah.
So look out for that tonight at 7:30. We are also back tomorrow with 40k After Dark at 8:30, and I have some fresh mead in the fridge for that. So that's that for this week. And then tomorrow's also fresh new month as well. Tomorrow's November. What the fuck? Ooh. And November, currently it looks like we're not going to miss a single fucking stream. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have got any more thoughts on anything we've talked about today, about casual 40k, narrative 40k, tournaments, TOs, etc., please feel free to stick them in the comment section below after the stream. 1, I read every comment. 2, genuinely really fucking helps the algorithm. So thank you so much to all those people that do things like stick comments on the videos and stuff after the fact. You're all amazing. If you haven't already, please smash that like button for us. I hope you've enjoyed the content, you wonderful human beings, and hopefully we'll see you tonight. If not, we'll see you in the next one.